I didn't realize that I wanted to become a writer. It just happened, like almost everything in my life. I was a journalist, and a very happy journalist in Chile. And we had a military coup in 1973, and I was forced out of my country. I ended up as a political refugee in Venezuela, where I couldn't find a job as a journalist. I did all sorts of odd jobs to make a living until I could find a job administering a school. I have no skills for that. I eventually sat down to write a letter to my grandfather that evolved into my first novel, The House of the Spirits, which was a very lucky book. There was an agent, a famous agent in Spain, who picked up the book, and in 2 months it became an international affair, and it was translated to many European languages. That never happens with the first novel, so I was very lucky that it happened to my first novel, because that opened the way for all the others. And I have always had the same publishers and very loyal readership. I've been incredibly lucky in this very hard career. To my younger self, what I would tell is, you are better than you think you are. Calm down, take it easy, have more fun. Don't be so bossy. Just let go of a few things. Don't be so sarcastic also, people don't like it. Lose weight. Wear higher heels, for God's sake. That's what I would say. A character of all my books, I would say that Clara del Valle in The House of the Spirits, because she was my grandmother. She was exactly like that. And she died when I was very young, and I would love to meet her and know if she was really like that, or if I have written about the legend that she became. And of course, I would love to have dinner with my daughter again. The best writing advice was cut. Don't extend things beyond the need. And it's very difficult, because as a writer, you fall in love with a sentence or a paragraph that you have worked so much on. The effort that you spend in writing, nobody cares about. The only thing that matters is the end result. It's like sports. In sports, all the training doesn't matter to anybody except yourself. It's the performance that matters. Keep writing, be disciplined, and do it as many times as possible. Doesn't matter your effort. A favorite Spanish word? Amor, probably. The first thing about a story is a seed in the belly. Something that maybe I overheard years ago, maybe I read it somewhere, maybe it's an obsession of mine, something that is there inside. And I say the belly and not the brain, because I'm not even aware that it's there. But then it starts to grow, and it starts to become like a theme. And then I start dreaming about it and thinking about it. And then I realize it's time to write it. But I know nothing about the story yet. I have to give it time to mature and to become a story. When I start writing, I usually have a vague idea of the place where it will happen. And then as the characters emerge, I start moving the characters and creating the story, but I don't have the story. If the question is what comes first, I would say a feeling about what I want to write, and then the characters. I used to sage my office, but now I'm becoming really allergic to those smells. So I don't. I just light candles. I have always fresh flowers. I have my dogs with me, and tea. And that's the beginning of my day, my January 8th ritual day. I have been in a writer's block, a real one, only once. And that was after my daughter died. I thought I had gone into some place in the desert. There was nothing there. I went to my office every day. I tried every day to write, and everything came out flat. It had no inspiration, no lightness, nothing. And after like 2 or 3 years of this, I decided that I would give myself a task. As a journalist, I was given tasks all the time and a deadline, and I had to research and write no matter what. So I gave myself a subject that would be nonfiction. So it was just a matter of research, and then in the research I started getting inspired, and I got out of the writer's block, and pretty much out of that mourning, deep sadness that I was feeling. Since then, I have had moments in which I'm stuck with a book and there's no inspiration, I don't know how to continue, or I'm stuck in a scene. And then thinking of how not to dwell on that had helped me before, I jumped to another part of the book and I just let it be and work on some other chapters and then go back to it. If I go back to it twice and the third time doesn't work, I cut it, done. It shouldn't be there. That helps me a lot too. But if I linger for too long in something that is not working, I get sort of paralyzed. I don't know how to continue. When I write fiction, I write only in Spanish. So very few people around me can read the book in Spanish. I show it to Johanna Castillo, my agent, who is from Ecuador, and my brother Juan, who lives in Atlanta, and they are my first readers in Spanish. When the book is translated, I work closely with my American editor, Jennifer Hershey. If the book is nonfiction, usually I can write it in both languages, so then the process is much shorter because as Johanna is reading it, also Jennifer can be reading it at the same time. I wish I could write fiction in English, but fiction happens in the womb. It doesn't happen in the brain. I need to just come out like I don't know, like waves. I don't get nervous when one of my books is going to be published because by then I'm already into something else. What I get really nervous is when I start the first page. I start all my books on January 8th. On January 7th, I'm a wreck. What am I going to write? Is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? And I'm always dealing with a new story that needs a new way of being told. I know nothing about the story. It's like going into a dark room with a candle. And day by day, I sort of illuminate different aspects of this dark room, and eventually everything comes together as a story. But it takes weeks. That period of not knowing what I'm doing, of uncertainty, I have no self-confidence for that. I've been writing for 40 years and I still don't feel very safe about it. But maybe that's the good part, that's the challenge. It's like a new marriage. You get married many times and then you always are in love and you are always experiencing something new. Well, that's the same with writing. I have been accused of writing magical realism. Let's first of all define it. It's different from fantasy. Fantasy is something that is unbelievable, extraordinary, that has no foot on reality. You never see a manifestation of fantasy. But in magical realism, the manifestation seems magical, unbelievable, extraordinary, but there is an explanation behind it. So for example, the invisible Indians of the Amazon would be Indians that paint their bodies the colors of nature, and they walk so swiftly in the jungle that they are invisible. I come from a background in which all these magical elements are part of our lives. But if you think about it, it's also in every culture. In the United States, they say that we are superstitious. But what about crystals and astrologers and tarot readings and all the little miracles of daily life? So that's what I write about, because I accept that the mystery of life in everyday life. And therefore it comes naturally in the writing. But I can't write fantasy. I wrote a trilogy for young adults where fantasy was required. And I couldn't. I could only use magical realism. So I brought in elements that seem magical, but there's always an explanation behind them. My name is Emilia del Valle. It's about an American young journalist who is sent as a war correspondent to Chile in 1891 to cover a civil war. And so we see it from her perspective and all the adventures and everything that happens to her there when she almost dies. So that's a way of putting together her personal story with the history of that event that was so powerful and so terrible in Chile. More Chileans died in 4 months in the Civil War than in 4 years in the war against Peru and Bolivia. So it was a very violent and an interesting time too.